We'll gather round, feel the love come down. Blue elephant is strong, together we belong.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I had an idea. I need some new fall decor for my house, and I really like this ribbon like a lot. And I thought, I wonder if I can shove it in this Let's Resin bowl mold and make it work without getting a lot of bubbles. We all know that putting any kind of fabric or anything like that that is porous like this is in resin can be kind of tricky and can ultimately end in disaster, and I don't know. I'm not going to seal it. I know typically if I was going to do something like this, I would seal it or maybe put a thin coat of like UV resin on it and cure it or something like that. But I don't think that's going to work. So I'm going to mix up some Let's Resin epoxy for this. And as it is mixing in my Resiners dual mixing machine, I am going to start shoving this ribbon in here. Now, you can go over with like Mod Podge or something like that, and there is a chance that the dyes that they use on this fabric could bleed, which is could be another potential issue, but we're just going to go with it and see what happens. So I did initially, when I cut it longer than what I needed just in case my measurements were off or any of that, and then just started shoving it in here. Now you got to be careful because I don't want it to fold up on me, especially towards the bottom. I want it to go, it's kind of like the perfect size, like width-wise, for this mold, and I want it to go all the way to the very tip of, I guess, the bottom of the mold. Makes sense? So that the entire sides of this bowl are going to be this gorgeous ribbon. Now, this is a wired ribbon, so that's another thing that I'm kind of fighting against. And it's kind of like a dual-edged sword. I'm fighting against it, but at the same time, it's also helping and keep its shape so that as I shove it in there, it's not all folding up on me. Now, around the bottom of it and the edges that are meeting at the back of it is where I am having my most of my issues. The bottom, because the wire wants to just kind of bend and stay that way. And around the edges where it's meeting, I just can't for the life of me get it to meet perfectly. So that could kind of go with the outcome. I don't know. We'll see. Now, I decided that I didn't want just completely clear resin, so I'm just going to add just the tiniest bit of some ultra super fine gold glitter in there. Not a lot. I mean, I realize it looks like a lot, but it's really not a lot. And that's just going to add a little bit more interest to the sides. You may see it, you may not, but the ribbon itself kind of has like a sparkly sheen to it, so I thought it would just kind of go with it. And then it'll give us a little bit of glitter along the gold. Now I am pouring this in super slow, and I'm just going around the edges right now. I want the resin to kind of start finding its own way towards the bottom. Now the only other issue that I'm worried about is sometimes when you put fabric type stuff in there, in your resin, it absorbs it and you need more than what you typically would, which you kind of think that it would be the opposite, that you would need less because you're putting something in there so it would displace some of the resin. But with fabric, for some reason, sometimes it seems like you need a little bit more, depending on how much fabric that you are putting into your resin. And then I also need to make sure that I don't want the ribbon to be pressed up against the silicone on either side of the sides of the mold, because if that happens and resin isn't all the way through, then we're going to get the holes, we're going to get where we actually are seeing and feeling the actual ribbon because resin isn't going in there. So this part, just putting the resin in here alone, takes me quite a while. I'm leaving it in here, but I am fast forwarding through some of it just so that you can kind of get an idea of how it is that I'm going about trying to work out as many of the air pockets as possible. I am going around, I am squishing the bottom, I am repositioning the ribbon itself as it moves, as I'm squishing it and all of the things, trying to make sure that the ribbon is completely saturated as much as possible anyway, from what I can see in resin, and then working out any air bubbles that I may see that are going to start to raise to the surface, right? Or if I could tell that they're trapped in between the mold and the ribbon itself. Very tricky because you can't really see, especially up towards the top where the ribbon is kind of, because of the wire edges, it's kind of moving up and down and going all over the place. It looks like there's air. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. It's really, really hard to tell where the resin is and isn't. And you can kind of, if you look right now, you can kind of see where it looks like there's air in there. And some of it is because I don't have enough resin in here yet, right? So I am mixing up more right now. But we're just going to play with it and see how things go. Now, initially I poured 8 ounces in. The mold does say it takes like 11 point something or another ounces. I mixed up another 4, so that'll give me 12 ounces. So that should be more than enough resin for the job. What I decided to do is I want to add a little bit more clear just to fill up along the sides a little bit more. And then I'm going to take the rest of it and I am going to mix in some of Let's Resin's, I think it's the forest green mica. It's kind of like an olivey color, and put that on the bottom because I don't want the bottom completely see-through. Now, that being said, it's not a lot of resin, so there is a potential, because it's only maybe about an ounce and a half of resin ish that I'm going to add the color to. I do not want it to go down the sides. I don't want it to mess with the ribbon whatsoever. Like, I want the ribbon and the sides just to be the ribbon, and that's it. I don't want the green to seep down. Now, obviously, that is a chance I'm taking as I am pouring it while it's still wet. Now, if this is something that you wanted to do and you're like, well, I don't want there to be any chance whatsoever of this happening, you could very well wait until your resin has mostly cured or completely cured and then finish it off with whatever color you choose, right? Like, that's 100% a possibility, that, or something that you can do, not a possibility. It is definitely something that you can do. I chose not to do it that way because I just chose not to do it that way. And you can see I'm working out the bubbles and they're coming out, right? And I'm trying to, as I am lifting my finger that's pushing the bubbles up, I'm trying to slowly let it back down, giving the resin a chance to kind of float into it before I let it go, so it doesn't suck up too fast and suck air back down along with it, because then that's kind of defeating the purpose of all this time I'm spending trying to work out the bubbles. But it's still, even with that clear resin added around the edges, it's still really, really hard to tell if I got all of the areas or not. We're just going to have to chance it and see what happens. Did spray it with alcohol just to pop any other bubbles that I may have missed. And now it's time to add the mica powder. Now, I don't want this to be transparent. I want it to be opaque. Now, that being said, I do realize that even though I am making the colored resin opaque, there is a chance that it's going to be see-through because I'm adding it to so much clear resin. That's fine. I just want to make it as opaque as possible. If it's a little see-through-y, it's fine. It is what it is. Like, it's not like some huge trauma, anything like that. Like, it'll be okay. But I do want to make the resin that I'm mixing opaque. All right, and now we're just going to kind of put the majority of it in the middle. I do want to go in the outside, like the outerness, a little bit, but as you saw, I didn't pour too much out towards the outer edges of it, again, because I don't want it to travel down the sides. Now, what I'm going to do is, because we know as resin cures, it pulls towards the middle. So I anticipate a lot of this to kind of be pulled towards the middle. My color should be concentrated in the middle, but I am going to add a little swirly in there. And it's just to kind of make it so that it looks more uniform, more cohesive, less just blasé like it was when I just poured it, because I don't know how much movement we're actually going to get. So do I expect the designs to say? No, I don't. Not at all. It's fine. I just kind of want that mix of color. All right, so I put it in my Let's Resin curing machine. So this is 3 hours later, and it is ready to demold. And you can see some of that pattern stayed in the back. Now, if I had let it to cure on its own, I would have lost it all because it just would have moved. But because I put it in the curing machine and it cured in 3 hours, it didn't have that time to move. Now, before I put it in, I did let it set for about an hour just to see if there's any other bubbles that would rise to the surface. So in all, 4 hours to cure, right? I did end up with a really big hole. I pointed it out right along the edge where it was one of my problem areas where I couldn't tell. Now, there are some bubbles that you can see along the inside. I'm feeling around to see if they're all the way through, but you can definitely see a couple of big ones in between the folds of the ribbon. It is what it is. It's fine. It's like it's not a huge deal. Like, I only saw them because I was specifically looking for them. But this hole right here, we are going to need to fix because it is really big and long. So I am just taking some Bond Craftor UV resin and I'm slowly filling up that hole. I'm going to take my scribe and just work it all the way around to make sure that it's in all of the areas that it needs to be. And then slowly, like one drop at a time, I'm just going to kind of add a little bit more just to make it flush, or as flush as possible since it's on a curved surface. I'm going to spot cure it with my Let's Resin UV flashlight, and then after I'm sure that it's set, it's not going to go anywhere, it's as flat as I can make it, I'm going to stick it under my Let's Resin cordless UV light for 3 minutes and let that baby cure up the rest of the way. And as it cures, I'm going to start going through some really pretty UV DTF stickers that I have that are just all things fall, and I'm super excited about them. They are so pretty. You guys are about to see here in a moment. I mean, look how gorgeous these are. So what I decided to do is I want to, along the middle, I want to have a big long piece of just like pumpkins and whatever. And I mean, like at this time I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted, but I want it in the middle. And then I want leaves to go around the side. Now, there is a spot where those two sides of the ribbon meet that it needs to be hidden because it just, it's not good. So I decided that that green pumpkin right there is kind of like the perfect, it's just the perfect size to kind of fit on the inside side of the bowl so that it kind of hides most of it. Now, is it going to hide all of it? No, but it's fine. It'll be fine. And then we're just going to take some random single leaves and decorate them all over the place just to kind of add a little bit more interest to this piece. Now, in laying down the stickers, I kind of misjudged how the two would fit. Like, I had them side by side, and I put the one all the way over to the side, and then as I'm kind of setting them down, and this is what's really great about these, is that because there's no borders on them, you can make it look like one cohesive piece just placing them all together, which is what I'm going to show you here in a second as I take off the next one. So these two, the backgrounds are very similar. The pumpkins are very similar in color. And if you see it, like, it looks like it should be one cohesive piece. I can kind of overlap it a little bit, and nobody's the wiser unless I'm sitting here telling you. You're not going to be the wiser that it's two different stickers. So we're going to do the same thing for this third one, but this third one is a little bit too big and I don't want it to go up the sides of the bowl. So what I decided to do is I'm just going to trim just a little bit off of this edge. And the reason I'm doing it off of that edge is because I need there to be less foliage and more like right to the pumpkin so that it doesn't look like it's a separate piece. And then we're just gonna, instead of wasting it, take the little bits that I cut off and add them around the wagon wheel and up near the top where the sunflowers are. And I think that it looks really pretty. It looks like one piece. Now there's one little leaf next to that white pumpkin I wish I would have cut off, because it kind of, like, if you're looking at it too hard, it's like, something's not right about that. But if you're not studying it, like if you just glance at it, I think it looks really, really pretty. Now it's time to add the pumpkin and hide those two connecting pieces of ribbon as much as possible. Now I'm only going to do it to the inside because in my mind, like, I thought about doing it to the outside as well, but the way I'm looking at it is this piece is going to set on a piece of furniture that we have right in the entryway in front of our front door. So what's right behind it is a wall. So if I put it there and have that as the back, right, you're not going to be able to see the outside of the bowl from where it's sitting. So it's kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put anything on there. Now, depending on what you were using it for, if you're using it for, say, the centerpiece of a table or something like that, then yes, you may want to do something a little bit more with the outside of it as well, if you're going to be able to see it from all sides. But because I'm not going to, I'm just going to have it sitting there. I'm not super stressed about it, you know? So now I'm just going to take a few minutes and I'm going to just place some leaves around the outer edge of the bowl and then down on the bottom up near the top. And then that's it. That's it. Now, I say that's it, but this probably took me like an hour to figure out what pieces would look best with what, like, the color scheme and the original two, like, main piece pumpkin stickers that I picked, what I wanted to use and all of the things. And because there's so many and there's so many gorgeous ones that I really had a hard time making up my mind. And then I pulled out a second pack, which is the ones that you can see off to my left, and thought, well, maybe I should incorporate some of these. Maybe I'll find something better that will help. I really wanted to find something on top of that green pumpkin that's hiding the ribbons, to see if I could put something on top that would hide the little bit of space up there that is just showing that's bothering me. But I really couldn't find anything that wouldn't look, kind of ridiculous. So I just was like, well, it is what it is. We're gonna live with it. I mean, it's really not that much, and it's probably just me, overthinking it and being overcritical. But this is it. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that you have to seal these stickers in, because they are the UV DTF ones. And typically, like, I know once I stick it down, like, it's not going anywhere. But I am going to, just because, if keys get thrown in there or whatever, I don't want them to scratch off over time. Now, the ones that are on the side, I mean, it kind of is what it is on those. I'm not gonna be able to get resin over them. Could I spray them with something? Sure. I'm sure I could get like a clear sealant or something like that, and that would work. But I'm not over stressing about it. This is a seasonal piece, so it's going to be up a month and a half before Christmas goes up and this comes down. So I'm not overly concerned. Now, I did mix up 2 ounces of Let's Resin's tabletop epoxy for this. And yes, it has a lot of bubbles. I'm not worried about those bubbles, not in the slightest, because I am going to heat this within an inch of its life with my heat gun and blow out all of those bubbles. And honestly, because the layer is so very thin, it is not like they're just going to come to the surface and they're going to pop, and I don't have anything to worry about. Typically with your thicker viscosity resins, you're going to get a lot more bubbles anyway, just because of how it is, but you're not pouring it very deep. Like, so they should, in theory, if the resin is good resin like this is, they should come to the surface and then you shouldn't have any issues. Now, there was a little hole right here that I found in feeling around for it. So I am just pushing the resin in there to make sure that it's completely covered and full and whatever. Same thing with a little, just, it's like the size of a toothpick, this one. But again, I want to fix it since I'm doing this. I might as well, right? And then I'm just taking the scribe and making sure that it's all the way around, touching all of the edges of the bowl, and leave it to cure overnight. And that's it. Like, really simple project. I mean, now I say that the ribbon part was not that simple. It was a pain in the butt, but totally worth it. I couldn't be happier. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, that's a wrap on this one, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will see you on Saturday in the next one. Love ya. Bye.
Elephant is strong. Together we belong. In every comment, right? You lift me to new heights. Your support, it's clear, gives me reason to cheer. Blue Elephant Crew, this one's out for you. You make dreams come true with everything you do. Each subscriber's heart playing a vital part. Videos we share, showing how much we care. Likes and shares, they grow. You make the channel glow.